Hello friends, so today I wanted to do a really quick video showing how I like to experiment in Clo to understand how a 2D shape converts into a 3D pattern. So for example, what I have here is a sphere or a half of a sphere that I drafted using a YouTube tutorial that I found, and I'll make sure that I link that below. But I just use this method to draft this sphere, and this is the resulting shape that I came up with. So I think this is interesting because it's comparable to like the shape of a bra cup. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but it can help me understand how, when I'm manipulating the curves on this cup, what happens in 3D space, because it's not always very intuitive. So one thing that always trips me up when I was like first drafting patterns was this curve right here. So when you're drafting the pattern and you originally make this lower cup pattern piece, it looks like this. And then if you need more volume, you split it and you add this curve here. So right now the pattern is trued up with this curve being smooth. But if you look in the 3D window, we're getting a tiny little bit of a dip right here. And what's happening is that if I true up these patterns the way that they're actually sewn, you see we're actually getting this dip in on our pattern piece as well. So to correct that, I can smooth out this curve, but you can see that I will be removing volume from the cup when I do this. So what I can do, well, first what I'll do is trace these so that I have a reference line. And so now I will kind of smooth out that curve here and here. And then I'm still getting a bit of a dip. So what I might have to do is actually lengthen the seam line a little bit. And then keep modifying this curve so it looks smooth. So you can see although I've removed a bit of volume from the sides here, I've extended it at the tip. So now when I simulate in 3D, I have a nice smooth line going across, and on my pattern piece, it's nice and smooth going across here. Okay, so let's see what we can learn from looking at this half sphere. I know it's not exactly what's happening on a bra, but we can just use it to understand how when we are manipulating curves, what happens in 3D space. Okay, so I just have these pattern pieces frozen to this semicircle here. Or sorry, I have these pattern pieces frozen to this, I have this circle frozen, and then I have these pattern pieces attached to it, and they have pressure applied on the inside of them. Okay, so when I look at this, I'm seeing more of a diamond pattern like that, like it's a little bit more pointy at where the seams are. And I would want to manipulate that to be more of a curve. And then also from the top, it's kind of flat across the front here. Okay, so before I make changes to this, what I'm going to do is save it as a 3D state, so we can always come back to it and see what's happening. So I'm going to call this original sphere. Okay, so next, when I look at the sphere, I see a bit of a weird, like it's more of a diamond shape than it is a circular shape. And if I look at it from a different angle, you can see like here, it's kind of pointy, and we want this to be more round and less pointy like that. So intuitively, and I know maybe my intuition is wrong, I think I would want to increase the curve on this seam to try to get it to be more round. So I'm just going to increase the curve like this, and then I'm going to use that on the other side. So I'm going to grab that line, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to replace line over here, and then select OK. I just want to make sure. Okay, it didn't copy it the way I wanted to, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to say replace line, and then I'm going to flip it. Okay, so now with that change, let's see what happens. It actually did the opposite of what I wanted. It made this flat spot worse. It made this part bumpier. So I'm going to go into my history. I'm going to actually save this one, and I will say, I'm going to call this one increased curve. So I can go back to my original sphere. And now, instead of doing that, the next thing I'm going to try is extending the apex and reducing the curve. So I'm going to extend the apex. And let's just do 1 centimeter for now. And then I'm going to reduce, well, extending the apex kind of reduced the curve already a little bit. So let's see what happens. And it looks like that's a little bit better, but probably we will have added more volume to the cup as well, which is not necessarily what we want to be doing. So maybe now I would reduce the volume on the curve a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing where I copy this and then replace the line here. And for some reason I gotta flip it. And you can already see that it looks like it's going to give us a closer to a shape that we want. So now when I simulate, okay, the curve is looking better, but now we're getting this weird like point at the tip. And so what's happening, so in Clo, because these patterns are symmetrically linked, I can't line them up together the way that I normally would. So what I'm actually going to do is just take a copy of this and then true this one up against that. Okay, so when you look at the pattern piece, we are getting that weird point right there, which is being reflected in the 3D space. So what I'll do is just smooth out this curve. I think the easiest way to do that is by using the smooth curve tool. First, I'm going to make this pattern piece go on top. And then I'm going to use the smooth curve tool. The shortcut for that is L. And then I'm going to smooth out that curve. And again, we're adding a little bit of volume, so we might want to consider shortening the apex of the bra when I do this. Okay, and let's apply that change to the other side as well. Replace lines, and then we're going to make sure they're the same orientation. Okay, and then let's simulate. It's still too pointy, so you continue refining. Let's delete this one. Let's copy this, and then let's match these up. Oh, I know what I did. He didn't do it to the other side. So this, and then replace line here, and then flip it. Select OK. So now they should be trued up. Now let's simulate and see what's happening. All right, so that's looking a lot better. And so this is why... And so this is why this is why it's so difficult to get a bra pattern perfect, especially when you're trying to figure out the roundness of the cups. And so one more thing that I will show is that what also matters is the fact that this bra cup, it's not flat against our body like this. It actually goes around. Our body is shaped more like a cylinder than it is like it's not flat like this one here. So if I were to take this same cup shape and attach it to this more curved piece here, so if we sew those on, then we can see what's happening. All right, and then now when I simulate, we can see what's happening to this cup shape. And the first thing I notice when I look at it is that it gets a lot more droopy. Like we have, this is like drooping over the edge, and same thing here, and same thing underneath. And I think the reason why that's happening is because if I match, okay, I can't do it with that one, but let's copy and paste this, and then let's match this bottom seam up. So we're getting this like angle at the bottom here, and I think we need a curve there. So I'm just going to curve out this cup, the bottom of this cup here. And let's see. So this one would also be the same. So we want that curve. Maybe I've added too much curve there. Let me just reduce it a little bit. And then let's simulate and see if that's helped. And so it does help a little bit. I'm not sure. And then and this is like just how it goes with when you're pattern making, because you try it on the body and you see something that you want to change, and you try to apply that change to the pattern, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's just nice to be able to get into a space and be able to play around in 3D a little bit, and to see if what you're thinking makes sense actually makes sense. I don't know if you guys, so let me know if you guys think that this is interesting or useful, or if there's another way that you would play around with this. I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts out there. And thanks for being here, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.